All right, welcome back to Talking Tea Andor, Season 1, Episode 11, Daughter of Ferrix. As you always know, we're coming at you with some sort of beverage. So, as the title goes, I'm drinking some vanilla chai, black tea with honey and sugar. Going over to Aaron, what are we drinking?
For the first time, I'm not drinking a tea. I'm just chilling with some water today.
Wow, this man's Connor. Connor, what are we drinking?
We switched places. I didn't do tea, but I actually did a coffee today. I did a French vanilla with cookie butter Chobani creamer.
Wow, give me a ranking out of 10 on that one.
I'm going to be honest, this is probably my least favorite Chobani creamer. So, sorry to kill the vibes a little bit, but Emily, if you're listening to this, I'm still glad we tried it, but maybe not put that on the Walmart order next time.
Not a sponsor, could be. Walmart.
Yeah.
Skylar, what are we drinking?
Today we have a full-strength Diet Coke.
Ooh, the nectar of the lords. What modality? Is it can? Is it bottle? Is it fountain?
It is bottled today.
Ooh. Do you have an opinion on bottle versus can?
I usually use bottles, mostly because my dog's tails are absolute weapons and will launch any amount of filled can across a room. So, for safety purposes, we use bottles around here.
Oh.
So I'm assuming it's not glass bottle, it's plastic.
It's plastic bottle, that's
Yeah.
correct.
Well, now we know when we come visit. Watch out. You might be impaled by a tail. Well, let's dive into it. We're talking about episode 11, Daughter of Ferrix, and I did have a slip last episode, and I'm going to rectify that. So we usually always, do the summary of the episode. So let's walk through that, and then we will proceed into our thoughts. So, starting at the top, Marva dies, prompting a funeral ceremony on Ferrix, which Miro, or Dedra, encourages in the hopes of rooting out rebel activity in the area. Vel informs Klaya about Marva and learns of Mon's reluctant plan to marry her daughter to secure funding through Skalden. Karn also learns about the funeral from Mosk, our friend Linus, and makes plans to find Andor himself. Saul Gerrera decides to assist Anton Krieger on attacking Spellhouse, but it is advised against it by Luthen, citing that the ISB know about the impending assault. On the return to Coruscant, Luthen escapes from an Imperial patrol, destroying several TIE fighters. Cassian and prisoner Melshi, Roose Scott Melshi, by the way, if you didn't know his first name, managed to hitch a ride off Narkina 5, traveling to Neamos to recover Cassian's belongings. After Cassian discovers Marva has passed, the pair parts ways, intending to expose the unjust prison system of the Empire. Again, I would argue this is, and we talked about it off camera, off recording, but we do kind of have maybe a calm before the storm type of element with this episode, kind of setting up the final episode, which we would probably argue is going to be very climactic, as most end of the seasons go. But yeah, we start on Narkina 5, and we catch Melshi and Andor post-escape. They're just hanging on the cliff. This really called back, if you guys watched, I think, was it The Book of Lions or In Between the Lions? Does anyone remember that show on PBS? Probably when they were in the first or second grade. There's a guy named Cliffhanger. They would sing about Cliffhanger hanging from a cliff, and the joke is he'd always get off the cliff and then immediately fall back down and have to hang from the cliff yet again. So this is what they remind me of, because they're literally just hanging on for dear life, which begs the question, and one thing we didn't really talk about at the last episode, how many prisoners do you what happened to all the prisoners? They're the only two in the nearby radius, but there's thousands of people that escaped from Narkina 5. So what do you think happened to these guys?
I kind of think they just all like made a dash for it, you know, like different ways, different parts of the planet, just trying to get away, you know.
I had a lot darker of a take that the Empire found out about the prison escape, as they would inevitably do, and sent a bunch of reinforcements that helped gather up all the prisoners. Since, again, they were in the middle of an ocean with no land to be seen, and somehow our heroes ended up on land, I don't think a lot of the prisoners met that same fate.
Yeah, that's probably the case. And I mean, we'll talk about like the discussion because it gets out, I believe, like in that scene where they know what it like the word is out with the locals because they talk about the pricing, right? So I'm sure there's a lot of people that get sold out. We'll come back to that because we got to go to Ferrix for a moment because we get to see the after effects of Marva unfortunately passing away. So there goes another Harry Potter character, unfortunately dying. And we get to see the after effects with B2 or B. Anyone figure out what kind of droid B is? Now we are expert droid examiners, so we all should know.
Hey, have a guess. I'm not super confident, but I'll give her a guess.
Okay. Aaron, Skylar, do you have guesses?
I think
yes.
so.
Okay. Connor, go ahead. Go first.
I'm gonna guess a ground mech.
That was also going to be my guess, I think.
Is also mine as well.
And that was mine, and correct. We're four for four on it.
Yeah.
That is, B2 is a ground mech, as we all could clearly tell. So, as we're going through this season, especially in Season 2, super excited for Droid Identification Corner. We will not make that an acronym, but Droid Identification Corner will be something we discuss. But we see B, and he's obviously upset. And then we see Brasso, and Brasso's always the biggest guy. He's the toughest guy, but you really notice he is one of the kindest characters, right? Because he is just always caring for B2, even though, you know, he is just a droid. He's just a ground mech, but he cared about, and he's worried about Marva. And he's sad because B's sad. So you can see all the people like kind of coming through, and Brasso's the only one taking care of old B2. But yeah, Marva passes away, and we see all the people kind of watching her. So we see Cinta as a waitress nowadays, and we got the new guy whose name is Corv, I found out. He is the one kind of hanging out and trying to, you know, watch over the situation a little bit. But we see kind of quickly that it gets back to Dedra that they are requesting a funeral for Marva, which initially they're like, yeah, of course they're going to ask. We're going to say no, of course. And she's like, nope, you got to do it. You got to do it because she wants to set the trap for Andor. And then they talk about what happens in this funeral. Do you guys remember what they talk about? Like what happens when someone on Ferrix dies, a daughter of Ferrix specifically?
I believe they're made into a brick. Yeah.
Yes, they're made into a brick and put into the wall. So, yes, that is what is going to be coming about with Marva. So, yeah, Dedra very quick, as always. She's just very sharp. She understands this could be the chance to lay the trap for Cassian. And she's going to make sure she takes advantage. Anything before we go back to Narkina 5?
One thing, and this is just a small dumb note about this scene, but did anybody else catch the shot where it's like B looking out the window and it's like one of the most beautiful shots in the series, and it's like a droid looking out a window?
I did not catch this.
I missed
If you look back, it's just like, I don't know, the cinematography is just like way too good for a shot of a droid looking out a window. It was like, it looked like they pulled it straight out of a Scorsese film or something.
Wow.
It was like it caught me off guard.
I'm gonna pull that. I gotta pull that up.
Yep. It's just the droid longingly looking out the window.
Well, you know, those ground mechs, they really just, the camera loves them.
Yep.
Well, we get back to Narkina 5, and then we see Andor and Melshi. They're looking, and they see these two fishermen and a quad jumper, a ship. And they say, like, this is our chance, this is how we get away. And Andor wants to be very stealthy, and Melshi is like, you know, forget that. I'm just going to sprint right for it. And it looks like it's going well, because the fisherman, one being called Freddy, is just standing there like, huh, I think they're going to get our ship. And then, bang, they have a net that just catches them both, which is pretty impressive. Two nets that hit, like, that tracks them perfectly and grabs them. I don't know what that net was made of, but it sure looked gross when they were captured.
You remember those sticky hands that we all had as kids?
Yes.
Yeah.
That you can launch and grab papers and whatnot? That's exactly what it looked like to me.
I love that as they
Good
ran
call.
by, both the fishermen were just watching them, and it just didn't dawn on them. They're like, oh, they're just going to let us take their ship. I was like, there has to be something that's going to happen right here. It's like they're not just going to stand there, but they were dedicated to it.
Yeah, they thought we could take them, and they could not. So they run, they get netted, and then you have the one guy that speaks basic, if we remember that. That's English, because it's apparently an easy language. And then one guy speaks Narkina. But they talk about how they can get 1,000 per prisoner, dead or alive, which is probably calling back to Skylar's theory that a lot of people will probably turn back over because they can just get paid for them. But I wanted to point out, because it was probably on the 5th or 6th time, do you guys pay much attention to this conversation? The guy that speaks basic, he throws in some, like, Narkina language. And I think I translated some stuff.
I don't think I caught it.
Okay,
So I'd be interested to know.
So he talks about squiggly. Squiggly, I believe, translates to fish or life, because he's talking about kill the squiggly. You know, he's out here with, you know, catching squiggly. So I think that's either fish or some sort of aquatic life. He says scuban. Pretty sure that's the F word in Narkina. He said scoob the Empire and something along the lines of Scuban prison, and I'm like, pretty sure he is, you know, he's not family friendly on Narkina. But if you watch it back, let me know if I'm wrong. But I'm pretty certain that's exactly what's happening in this situation. Apparently, I think this auto-corrected, so now I feel bad. But there's another word that is, I believe, also the D word. So this guy's he's pretty frugal, or not frugal. He's pretty loose-lipped with his language. So anyone that notices anything, catch it back. But when you go through that, you'll definitely know Scuban is definitely not a good word. But in what I wrote, in finally a stroke of luck and also just common sense, we find other people that actually hate the Empire and they just want to do something in spite of them instead of giving them people wrongfully imprisoned. So they've decided, you know what? The Empire's ruined our water. They've ruined the squiggly. Let's just get rid of these guys. Let's just help them out. Which I was like, thank goodness, because you very rarely, everyone always is betrayed or double-crossed, and these guys are like, we don't like the Empire, we'll help you out. And I was like, it's about time that finally happens, because it never does, and it feels like it should happen more.
Yeah, I agree with that. You know, up to this point, it seems like they were in another bind, and then luckily they're like, well, not today. We're not helping them.
Yeah, it's appreciated for sure. And I like their reaction when they're like, where do you want to go? We got to go quick. And they're like, Niamos? And they're like, nice. And they're like, Space Miami, nice pick. I'm like, yeah, they don't know the background, but they're just like, yeah, live it up there at Space Miami. That'll be good. But yeah, just love the scene of these guys and just saying, forget the Empire. But then we go back to Coruscant. We're going through, we meet Vel coming to the shop and talking to Klaya, who are two characters that just do not like each other at all. They do not like each other. Vel is just, again, it gets back to my earlier episodes. Just don't like Vel. I think Vel is overrated. She sucks at following directions. We know that because she comes in and just starts talking real freely and, is not supposed to be in person. And Klaya is just obviously not thrilled about this. But Vel definitely hates Klaya because she acts like she is, Klaya thinks she's better than her, which I would argue she is. But Vel also acts like she's high and mighty because you remember she says, she's trying to figure out where Luthen is because she wants to talk about Andor. But then she says, well, Klaya, I gave him Aldani. What have you done for him lately? And I said, major revisionist history there. You crap the bed in Aldani, and Andor has to do it all. And then all the other people that died. So I don't know how she's like, yeah, I did that. I'm like, they did it in spite of you, actually. I don't know how you made this, but I thought that was a little odd. She was taking credit for something that she was just there for.
I really like Klaya.
I like Klaya. I don't like Vel.
Klaya. Yeah, Vel. Yeah, I think that is just kind of like part of her character. Like she wants to be a leader so badly, and she wants like something that'll like put her name on the map as like a leader. And she's the only one that survived and didn't run away from that, so she's gonna take credit for it. Like technically she was the leader of the group, even though she was not a great leader. And so I think that's probably her just like clinging on to that and trying to use that as like, I don't know if it's advancement or what, but I think she just wants like recognition and wants like to be a leader when she's really not.
Yeah, I think it's fair. We saw her time as a leader, and she's literally crapping the bed on that bridge or on that like dam when they were like, we need to go, and she was like, she couldn't even spit it out. So yeah, she by default, she's the only one here, so she gets to claim victory, and we know. Skylar, are you taking a side on Klaya versus Vel?
Klaya's awesome. Vel, yeah, she stinks.
Yeah, she does stink. I agree.
She tries. She's a trier, not really a doer.
Not a doer. Yeah, and this is the thing. She, like, going back to Aaron's point, she thinks she's a leader, so she's like, everything I'm talking about matters. So she's coming to say like, hey, Marva died, and she's headed there. She's gonna meet up with Cinta. So we start putting the pieces together on like who is all gonna be in Ferrix in this last episode. So we have Vel is going to be there. Cinta's already there. We know Dedra is going to be there. So we're just stacking all these people up to say who is going to be in the crescendo of the episode. And there's at least 3. But yeah, we start to get this piece all kind of put together on what this final episode is going to look like. But back on Ferrix, we see the new guy is back. He's watching over Marva. He's trying to, have discussion with Cinta, and she's like, "Listen, I'm new. Don't bother me. I'm not interested in your words." But we get to see also Gong Guy make a return. I love the Gong Guy. It is dark as can be, and he's just hammering away. Just absolutely stellar performance from Gong Guy. I don't know if anyone else got a chuckle. Every time I see Gong Guy, I get a chuckle.
Oh yeah, Gong Guy's a crowd favorite.
Totally agree.
You know who I want to see again? What's the guy that was supposed to be the muscle at the beginning of the season? What was his name?
Is it Vex? Or wait, no. It's gosh, what's his name? He is hilarious. My favorite character.
He's who I want to see again. What?
Vetch.
Yeah. Oh.
Vetch
I love
needs
that
to make
guy.
a return.
Yeah.
He's just all muscle. Even though he just stands there. Yeah, good old Vetch. Yeah, he is probably number one. Gone Guy's number two on favorite characters on Ferrix for me. But so we see obviously Gone Guy smacking that thing, and Brasso again being his empathetic self, right? He's guilted into staying a night at Marva's because of B, not wanting to leave, and of course he caves because he's just that kind of nice guy. But then we get to Bix, and Bix is going through it. As you could tell, you hear the conversations, the callback to Dr. Gorst, who we do not like, ringing in her head. I wrote down it's better at least than the screams of the alien children being slaughtered, so I guess we didn't have to hear that, and that's good. A little callback, or maybe not callback, but like to the original Star Wars, the camera up on the wall, very similar to the ones in the Death Star that Han and Luke and Chewie shoot out when they're going to rescue Princess Leia. Like in that, like, rectangle with squares, like individual cameras. I don't know if anyone kind of looked at that, but that's what I thought of immediately.
I did not notice that.
That brings me back to a point I wanted to make last episode, Dirkus.
Yeah.
The microphone that they talk into at the prison is the exact same style microphone that Han uses when they're rescuing Leia from the Death Star. It's the same setup.
Yeah. It makes sense. I mean, obviously we're following that timeline. This is coming, of course, before those rescues, but that technology should be, evolving or being pretty similar. So yeah, great catch there. But Bix goes with a guy, and obviously you don't get it unless you have the subtitles on. The guy that brings her to the interrogation room, his name, Key Sachs. Key Sachs. That is that guy's real name. And I wrote, she looks awful. So I shout out to makeup for this one. She looks like she is miserable. She's going through it. And this is a question for the whole group, because I wondered. They want to know, as they're trying to identify Axis, they want to know who that is, and they pull up Anto Krieger. And that's who they think is Axis. And they want to know, hey, Bix, is this the person, is this the guy you introduced to Andor? And then I have a few different things. How do you take Bix's reaction? So it looks like, obviously her brain is just mush. But how did you take it? How did you take her in the scene where she's basically crying? So I wrote, is it because she does not remember at all now because her brain is fried? Is that a literal, is that the answer? She can't, she doesn't even recognize this man, that if she did or didn't meet him because she has just been tortured? Is it the fact that she knows it wasn't the person that she introduced, but the fact is that, if she said no, she knows the Empire's not going to accept that, so she's going to be tortured again, and she's sad about that. She realized she's in a no-win situation. Is there another reason? What did you guys take out of this interaction for Bix?
All right. So my thing was, it actually was a question the entire time, because she did look pained. Have we actually met Krieger?
No, never meet him.
So, we just know of him, because I'm sitting here going, I was trying to rack my brain. So I don't actually know the relationship, if we like Krieger, or if he's just the enemy of my enemy is my friend, or what's going on here. So I think that she's honestly just trying. I just don't want to be tortured anymore, so I'm just trying to process what you want me to say, so you'll leave me alone, because you have the wrong guy. So what can I say that you'll leave me alone? That's what I processed with what Pix was doing. She was trying to figure out what to say, because I don't really know if she's friends with Krieger at all.
She definitely doesn't know Krieger, and for Krieger, he is like a less extreme Saul Guerrera. He is a rebel. He's fighting the Empire. You know, he's being used in this rebellion, but like no one knows him. We've never seen him on screen. He's just a guy. He basically, if we never met Saul Guerrero, it'd be kind of like that. But he's more like wanting to get the job done versus Saul wants to do it on his own type of guy.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he's just part of one of the many factions that actually end up making up the Rebel Alliance. Because this is before the Rebel Alliance is an alliance. They're just different groups of rebels attacking the Empire for either personal gain or just defiance.
Yes, that's correct. So Skylar, what do you say about this scene?
I think her brain's just mush and she just doesn't know what to say, and she's just fearful that Dr. Gorst is going to be coming back, and that's why she starts crying.
Aaron?
I didn't really understand what was going on in her head, but I did think that for if we have any football fans listening, that Anto Krieger looks exactly like Brian Dable, former New York Giants head coach.
What a turn.
So that's my only input for this scene. Anto Krieger equals Brian Dayball. I have no idea what Bix is thinking though.
Well, fair. I just really was confused on like what she was actually, if she was just mush. I think she just realized it's kind of like we're flexing in between. She's just in a rock and a hard place, and she doesn't know what to say. She basically feels like she's in a no-win situation. But the Brian Dayball thing, you know, that's a fair thing. Yes, I would argue that too. So we leave off of Ferrix then, and we go back to Coruscant. And obviously, I think this is a big part of the episode and kind of what's going on, because we see the Chandrilan ways are being taught. Yielding and acceptance, safe in the braid is what they say. True and steady, braided in truth. The other ways hold us safely. So they're reciting these vows, and it's not everyone, of course. It's just Mon's daughter and other girls their age. And we can tell very quickly Vel and Mon hate the old ways. I said, granted, Mon hates it because she ended up with Punchable Perrin that way, which I would hate that way too if I had to be stuck with that idiot. You know, Vel, of course, there's probably some hate because, you know, it was trying to, you know, put her probably with a husband, which she was not interested in. So there's the other side of the hate there. Daughter, though, loves it. Wants to learn everything, wants to be about it, learn about it. Seems like she's taking a very active role and, like, kind of leading it from what I'm seeing. Like, very much involved. What do you think of this dynamic? Like, do you think this is just teenage defiantness? Like, I'm going to do it because my mother doesn't like it? Do you think, like, Mon mentions it's like the new thing, right? Like, she does mention it's, like, you know, what's cool in that younger age, but I don't know what you guys noticed.
I think the teenage defiance has to be a part of it because, I mean, that's basically like all we've seen her do in the show this whole time is like be a defiant teenager that like disagrees with her mom, you know? So like I think that definitely has to play a part.
Skylar, what do you think?
Yeah, same thing. Didn't have much more than that.
Connor?
Yeah, I didn't put much thought into it. I don't know if she's genuine or if it is a rebellion thing. Because, like, it's almost like the mom and her sister, I can't think of her name.
Val,
Val.
That's her cousin.
It's like they don't want to, like, fully condone it because then, or they don't want to say not to do it because then it'll just drive her deeper into it. So they're, like, walking on eggshells around her. So I can't tell if, like, she's genuinely into it or if she is just doing it to rebel.
I would say it's probably a little bit of both too, because it's, you know, like they did say, it's like the popular thing of the times. It's kind of like now it's like becoming more popular to do like old-fashioned things, like make your own like bread or grow your own, you know, garden or things like that. Like it's the same thing there, but the fact that her mom doesn't like it, I'm sure, is like a very big motivating
bonus.
factor.
Yeah.
The thing I find interesting about it too is that, you know, she I think likes her dad. Might be the only person that does, but he doesn't even like it because Vel is like, "Oh, is it a parent thing?" And she's like, "No, he surprisingly does not care like about it," which I found interesting because I feel like she does things because, you know, she likes following up with her dad and doing things like that, but this is not a thing that he pushed, so I could easily see rebellion or, like you said, like the old ways coming back around being a thing where she's getting into it. But, you know, in a world where, you know, younger people now, you know, it's not as much fun to make decisions. It can be overwhelming. This, I could see like that being mirrored here in this show, is like younger people are like, listen, I don't want to make all these decisions. It's too much. So this would be an easy way to not have to make many decisions. So I don't know, just an interesting discussion about it. But they leave that situation that's already a mess, but she obviously talks about, she being Mon, begins to talk about her money, and we really get to see kind of what is gone on. So she talks about she was pulling 100,000 credits a month from the family trust, all for Luthen, and basically she was informed by the people on Chandrilla that, hey, look, they're going to be looking around. You need to make sure everything's on the up and up. And obviously her ledger was not going to be right. So she wants to bring in Tay Colmer, which would be the person that she ended up mentioning. Maybe that was obvious. I didn't think when she was talking about bringing someone in that she was going to, meaning Tay, but I must have just, you know, been trying to search for something that wasn't there way back. That was like a few episodes ago where she was talking about bringing someone else into the fold. But she gets Tay wrapped up, and then Mon says, I have a solution. And that's where we get to see and know the solution is, of course, going to be Davo. And he was right about what she said, when she said, you know, I'm not thinking about it. And he said, that's the first untrue thing you've said. And he was right, because she is seemingly going to take up this deal where she's going to have this meetup or whatever with Davo's son, which obviously seeing the love her daughter has of the traditional ways makes it seem pretty clear that this is definitely going to be a betrothal if this happens. Do we have any sympathy for Mon at this point, or are we just like, yeah, you kind of put yourself in a bit of a hole, and I don't know how you're getting yourself out otherwise?
It's so funny to me. I mean, as rich as they are, the $400,000 like discrepancy, I would have felt that this would have been an easy thing to fix, but like apparently it's not. I mean, you just hire somebody, or if anybody asks you about it, you just come up with like a convincing story, like, oh, I feel like I just thought that I thought it was going to be a lot more money that was missing than what it is, but apparently it's a big problem that they couldn't make a good excuse for. Like I immediately went to a family issue or something, like the daughter, and you had to get her out of the vine because she made some stupid decisions or something like that. But apparently wasn't a plausible thing that they could do.
Well, I think it's because her family doesn't know anything about it. So she can't pull in her family because they'll be like, what are you talking about? Like, obviously that didn't happen. Not to mention they don't seem like they would want to help her out because there's a strained family dynamic there to begin with. I would personally just pin it on parents gambling and then maybe have him arrested. But, you know.
Two birds with one stone.
Yeah, exactly the point. Exactly the point. But yeah, it's a bad situation, and I don't know if we should or should not have sympathy for Mon, but that's where we are.
I think personally I do, because I think that a lot of this situation, I think, is like the reason it's hard on her is because she already sees her daughter like kind of drifting away and trying to separate herself from her. And so like, you know, there's only one way to get out of it, but that way kind of means she's gonna have to like fully give up on like reconciliation with her daughter, basically. You know, like she's just gonna have to kind of let her go and do what she wants to do. And you know, I think she sees that that's probably coming anyway, but like it's different when it actually hits.
That's fair. Skylar, what do you think? What do you think about this whole dynamic? Do you think Mon's handling it right? Do you think that Mon is like a character we should feel sorry for in this situation, or do we feel like she should have been better? What do you think?
I have sympathy for her. I mean, like was mentioned, she's had a strained relationship with her daughter basically forever, and then she doesn't have a great home situation with her forced marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And now she's just trying to do something good with her life and fight against the Empire, and now that's becoming the source of her biggest problems. So, I don't know. I think we should have sympathy for her.
Yeah. Fair. Yeah, so, but obviously we look at this pretty clearly and see what's coming down the pike with her daughter, and it's going to be an interesting situation, but it seems like the only way out, and that's what it seems Vel understands too. So we'll be watching, no doubt. Anything else before we transition to Karn and Mrs. Fig?
I'll tell you one thing I just thought of, and I don't remember if we mentioned this on the last episode, so forgive me. I think we might have, but the last title of the last episode's One Way Out, and you just mentioned that this is kind of Mon's One Way Out.
Dang
you know?
it. Nice.
Like,
yeah.
kind of mirroring the one way out of the prison, one way out of Mon's kind of predicament.
Yeah, we had a lot of post thoughts after our filming of last session, right? That we did talk about the one way out and so many different people's perspectives. Lonnie with the same way, he his only way out of the ISB is really just complete takedown of it. There's no way he can't back out. His only one way out is ending it. So yeah, great callback there. We'll get to it so we can make sure we have plenty of time for Luthen at the end. But we do get we get to see Karn, we get to see Mrs. Fig, and then I have written, he has a call, and then in all caps with so many exclamation points, it's Linus, he's back, he made his return to this show. I didn't know if it was going to happen, but he made it back, and you just see what a absolute friend he is for Karn. That he's working, he's doing some smelting. He said the last few months haven't been easy for him, but he remembered Karn, and he wanted to make sure if anything ever came about with Andor, that he was going to be prepared to tell him. So he calls on this FaceTime-looking thing, and it's obviously, not the best signal. He's trying to call in between smelts, and their communication is not great because he's like, "No, I'm on here," and he's like, "No, where's Andor?" He's like, and we're like, "Dude, this is not going well. This is not a good conversation." But essentially, it gets out that Marva died, and they think that he may go to the funeral. So he wanted to make sure he told Karn that exact same thing, and Karn is just, you can see kind of the purpose come back into his eyes a little bit, which I find so funny because Mrs. Fig, aka his mom, is like, "Hey, I can sleep easy knowing about Andor," but it's quite the opposite with Karn. Now Karn, he won't rest. It's not that he can sleep easy. He literally will not rest, and that gets back to what was it Skeen said, the axe forgets but the tree remembers. The tree still remembers Andor, even though with everything that Andor's went through, Karn, the guy he held hostage for like a half second, is not at all who he thinks about, but that guy has thought about Andor every single day since that. But then we get another piece of Karn now being added to the Ferrex puzzle that will be coming about. So, another person added to the table. What did you guys think of this interaction?
My favorite part is that Cyril's mother is just standing there watching and listening the whole time. He brushes her away, but of course she's in her controlling ways and just stands there being overbearing and listening to his call.
Yeah, he tries to wave her off, and she's like, "No, I'm staying right here." Like, come on.
I thought part of what I was trying to figure out during that conversation was like, I could not figure out if, like, he ended up telling him all the information he wanted to know, but I was like, I don't think that, like, any of the responses that Cyril gave, like, he actually responded to what Cyril asked in that moment. Like, it was just such a jarring conversation, and I, like, could not follow it.
No, you're right. That's exactly how I felt. Like he was one sentence behind or confused, but somehow there was enough that got out that it made this conversation at least clear enough to Karn. But yeah, it was not a showcase of how to communicate. Connor, any opinions on Karn being in Linus being back again, buddy cop?
Not really on that one. I was just like, that one I just sort of took it for face value. I did find it funny at the end when he's like, "We need to talk about this more," and it just cuts.
Yeah, I like where it freezes. Like we've all been there, like the freeze in like the worst situation. He's gonna just like kind of fuzzy and his face is just there. But yeah, good times. We remember those Skype calls and all that stuff from the 2000s. So. Well, let's get to Neamos real quick because we get Andor back, and he has to do after he serves this sentence, how he breaks out of prison. First thing he does is a little bit of B&E, breaking and entering to steal his credits, which are thankfully still there. That would have been a really awkward trip if they went back and someone had grabbed all their credits. That would have been a bummer. But he gets them, and then we get to go to where basically the main part of the episode is Luthen. So Luthen goes to see Saw Gerrera, and we see that Luthen is being stopped, and he's like, "What's this about?" And the guy's like, "He's in a mood." I'm like, meh. We've all been there. We've all had someone's like, "Listen, watch out." Like, we don't know what kind of mood he's in right now. But he says that Saul is saying, "Hey, I'm in with Krieger. Yeah, Krieger, as long as he agrees to my terms, and Luthen, you make that happen, I'm in." And this is where you see Luthen like, "Oh my, you gotta be kidding me." Like, he plays it cool, obviously, because he's Luthen, but man, he's just sitting there like, you this can't be real. What did you guys think when he was saying that? Like, "Hey, I'm in with Krieger." Connor, what'd you think?
I could just feel the excitement. Like he was just like, I'm so in, but also I'm still separate. We don't answer to anybody in this, but I am willing to do it, but just don't let Krieger think that he's going to run this show. My men will do what they need to do, and then we'll go accordingly. So.
Yeah, it's just, it's so funny that he can't get the essence of being a team. And then when he needs to not, when Luthen's like, "Thank goodness he didn't want to be a part of that," he's like, "Never mind, I want to be a part of a team now. I'm going to adopt a me second mentality." And he's like, "Come on, man." Aaron, what'd you think of this? What'd you think of Saul flipping and joining the team?
I was kind of surprised that, and maybe, I mean, it might just be literally for, like, you can't have an episode run this long reasons, but I was surprised that Luthen kind of gave it up so quickly, There were 30 seconds in the conversation, he's just like, "Nah, you can't do that, because he's going to go die." And it's like, I feel like Luthen would play that out a little bit longer to see if he could convince him for another reason before just like kind of dropping his guard and saying like, "This is the situation. I'm at your mercy now," basically.
I totally agree. I wrote down, he could have played this off better because I was like, maybe he could have went back and been like, "Oh yeah, Krieger did not agree. He's doing it by his terms, not yours." Like, he could have, because they don't talk, like, he could have easily been like, yeah, Krieger said it's his way or the highway, and then Saul would be like, well, forget him, and then it would have been fine. But yeah, I thought that could have been maybe the chance that he had to say, keep him in the dark, but keep him out of fire. But as you said, he comes clean, he tells Saul, and Saul quickly starts to think about his own, like, expendability. He says, like, oh, are you like, am I like someone that can die really quick? And then, Luthen says, no, like, you can ID me. Krieger he doesn't know me. He's been in the same room with me. He doesn't know me. But Luthen says, hey, I'm going to give you the chance to tell Krieger or not. But you can tell Saul, he wanted to be the guy in charge. He wanted to make all the decisions. And now Luthen lays a decision at his feet. He says, you can make it, whatever you want. And he does not. He said now, and basically the burden has become a little bit too heavy for Saul. So he's starting, instead of being a quick decision maker, even though he's not been, it took him, however long to figure out about Spellhouse. He starts instead worrying about everything else. Like, how do you know all this? You have to have someone over there. You have to have someone in ISB. Do you have someone with me? And I love this sequence because he's like, Luthen wants him to answer, and he's like, no, like, you tell me who is with me. And he goes, it's Tubes. And I wrote, which is so funny. I don't know his name, but I hope it's not Tubes because that's just too on the nose. I went back and looked. Do you know what his name is? It's not Tubes.
I don't.
No idea.
Is it Tubes adjacent?
No, it's Two Tubes.
Yeah.
Wow.
His name is Two Tubes because he has them. So Two Tubes is like, no, I would never. I'm only loyal to you. And then he steals his gun, and we're like, wow, nice job, everyone. Really staying on top of it there. Gosh. Yeah, so a true disaster with Two Tubes. He just not protecting his gun. But Luthen has to say, listen, this is the benefit for Krieger going down because the ISB, if they take down Krieger, they're gonna feel invincible. Hey, we snuffed it out. Hey, we stopped it. They can't get by us. We're impenetrable. And they're never going to feel like they can be taken down. And that's exactly what Luthen wants. They want them to feel invincible because then they'll be more susceptible to actually being taken down. And Saul makes that decision. He says, we're going to do it for the greater good. And, of course, Luthen's like, I call it what you want. I don't know how good that is. And do you guys remember what Saul called it then? He said, let's call it this.
Let's call it war.
Let's call it war. So we get the inklings, the beginning of now we actually have a real war going on. What are your thoughts about this dynamic? Do you think like they're doing it right to sacrifice Krieger? Or do you think they could be, there's a different way to keep him around without blowing this kind of situation? Aaron, what do you think?
That's a really tough one. I don't know. I mean, I feel like, I don't know, in one sense, like, you don't really see any other option. But, like, I think that's kind of the point of really, like, his whole character is, like, showing that he's the guy that, like, makes the tough calls. Or, like, isn't afraid to, like, make a wrong call and somebody dies, like... It's not always squeaky clean with him. If he feels like he can gain an advantage for his cause by sacrificing some people, he's gonna do it. Where the typical hero would not. He'd save everybody and still win in the end. And I think that his character is kind of there to show like that's not always the way it is.
That's a good analysis. Connor, what do you think? You think there's a better way?
No, I think his logic is pretty sound here. I mean, it's awful, but it also shows the brutality of war.
Yeah, it's not always easy. What notes do you have from this scene, if any?
No, my big notes start coming right after this scene, actually.
Perfect. Skylar, any thoughts on this dynamic unfolding, or you think it's all we can do? Are you surprised with Saul? Are you surprised that Saul is willing to kind of go along instead of being a loose cannon that, that Luthen thinks he could be?
So the first part of your question, I think it's a good call by Luthen to give up or sacrifice, make the sacrifice of Spellhouse, because at the end of the day, intelligence is what wins wars, and having a guy on the inside of the equivalent of the KGB is vastly more important than having 31 people. Then, what was your second question there, Dirkus?
It was regarding. No, I can't even remember.
Saul,
yes, Saul. Do you think
following...
not being a loose cannon?
Yeah, it's actually surprising because Saul's character is, I'm a loose cannon, I'm going to do what I want. So it is pretty surprising that he falls in line, but I think he just kind of realizes the gravity of the situation, and that for now it's in his best interest to just kind of go along with it and let it happen.
Yeah.
Because again, he's very self-absorbed and cares about him and his people only.
Yeah, Saul, I mean, he is self-absorbed for him and his crew, but I think for his crew, he'll do a lot. For two tubes, he'll do whatever it takes for two tubes. But everyone outside of that, they're doing it for them and them alone. So, well, let's fly through our first part, because we see tailored suit Karn has made a return, baby. We got the suit, we got the tie. He's tailored, he's ready to roll, and he's stealing credits from his own mother, which deserves it. And he is making his escape to Ferrix, no doubt. I just wanted to make a mention of that just because we get to see his tailored suit back. I don't know if anyone noted that in their rewatch, that very excited for the tailored suit. But then we get to see Luthen on the Fondor, and him and Klaya are speaking in code. I would say this is my best scene, in my opinion.
Mine as well. Yeah.
This is my favorite one. So we get the dialogue of them actually speaking in code. Obviously, they're talking about Andor in that situation, but they're talking about it like it's art. But they're discussing how he's still around, and plenty are going to Ferrix to look for him. There's other collectors involved. But Klaya seems to know everyone's going to be there. Luthen seems to think he needs to be boots on the ground for this. So we get to yet again add another person on the ground at Ferrix in this, final episode of what would be coming together. But then we get the traffic stop, I guess. And I'm gonna, Connor, I'm gonna let you walk us through this one, because I think this is gonna be one you, like you said, you have a decent amount of notes for. But the dynamic of a traffic stop getting essentially, a space traffic stop, which we don't get too often.
Yeah, I'm going to backtrack just a touch before I hit on that scene, but
Please.
Klaya and his communication is just spot on here. I mean, it really was. Everything was perfectly coded. It fit perfectly into it. I mean, it was just a master class of coded communication. I mean, it was spectacular. And I want to see more of Klaya, because Klaya seems to be the most loyal soldier ever. And if we could it's going to break my heart if secretly she is, if she's a traitor or something, because man, she's the best, and she has his back 100%, is always looking out for him. That communication was amazing. I really like Klaya in that scene. It was top tier.
You just opened up my mind to the fact that, I have never considered Klaya being a double agent. If she is, that'll be a devastating blow to my life, too. So thank you for opening up a new fear.
Yeah. So that was my whole thing, because, I don't know what happened, but this episode, she just hit a different tier, and I was because she also was telling Val, get the frick out of here, moron. But Klaya's awesome. I really like Klaya. But then we get to him trying to leave, and I can't remember his name. I'm bad with the characters' names.
Luthen.
So Luthen's trying to leave, and it's kind of a throwback to what I was talking about here, but like he gets caught by the Imperial because there's piracy in the area, and he's like, "Oh, it's not a big deal," and he mutes real quick, and he asks his Fondor droid. He's like, "Hey, I need a quick code," and this droid is amazing. Like it is able to do so much at once. Like this is a top tier droid, and it must just come with the ship, but they get held up, and he's just like, "Oh, sorry, I'm a one-man show. I'm trying to figure it out here." And he's so cool, calm, and collected throughout this whole thing. And he has so many utilities and tools on this ship to achieve. And if I was in the Star Wars galaxy, I would pay so much money for this ship. I mean, more than the Millennium Falcon. This is my favorite Star Wars ship. It
Hot
seems
take.
to have so much. I would rather have this ship. I mean, it is amazing. And then the fact that he already knows what to do, it's top tier. And the fact that he destroys the tractor beam with like, I don't even know what those shards were, and he gets away. It was just an amazing scene. And if I could have any ship in the galactic universe, it would be that ship, because it's my favorite in the entire galaxy.
I guess that was gonna be my hot take, but I guess it's not a hot take. I was going to say that Luthen has the coolest ship in Star Wars, but apparently at least 2 out of 4 of us share that opinion, so it might not be as hot of a take as I thought.
Yeah, no, let me get back to a little bit as we hit our 4-minute, 3.5-minute warning. They actually pull him over because of suspected partisan activity, which is rules that came about after Aldhani. You weren't allowed to have partisan activity, so they're just using this as a reason to pull anyone over. Like you said, the droid just whips up an ID. That works. And I have a question. Do you think Luthen panicked? Because his ID worked. He starts powering up his engine to get away. If he didn't do that, do you think they would have just let him go because his ID worked? Do you think he panicked? Do you think not?
I don't think he panicked.
Yeah, I think they were planning to board him either way. So.
Well, I would argue you're right. But he takes off. Obviously, he destroys the tractor beam, which they're all surprised about. And then we get the shooting, which is just amazing. He blows up calmly, very calmly, just takes out a few TIE fighters until I said, I'm writing this down. He shoots the TIE fighters and then in all caps, then slices them in half. That is the wildest part of that whole, when those lasers come out and he just whips them and destroys them. I literally just put my hands on my head and my mouth dropped. I was so shocked.
I have ship lightsabers, exclamation point, question mark, question mark, question mark. that's my biggest take for that scene as well.
That was amazing.
The Darth Maul of spaceships.
Darth Maul of spaceships. That's a good way to say it, man. That's right. Oh, man. But wonderful. And then just goes away. And the guy in charge is just shaking his head. I'm like, Darth Vader would kill you if he was here, man. You should be lucky that dude's not around, because he should be in much more trouble that thing got away. But apparently...
I think he is, and I think he knows that.
I hope he is. I sure hope he is. So we get to this as we get to our minute and a half. We get back to Ferrix. Well, not Ferrix, but they are on... Well, it's Ferrix, but Niamos too. But Andor calls back to Ferrix, and he gets Zan, and he's saying, hey, no names, which Zan, by the way, horrible at this instruction, because he kept saying Cass every sentence 3 or 4 times, but basically has to tell Cassian, who doesn't know, hey, Marva is dead. And my question is, if Zan, or that's not a question, if Zan literally doesn't do that, then Cassian's good to go. Cassian would be totally fine. Everyone would come together and nothing would be a big deal. But because he says that, then we get the dynamic of what it seems to be the final conclusion in the last episode, where everyone comes together. So, a bummer. I mean, good that he found out, but bad for Cassian that he's going to get put in this situation. But let me finish up really quick with them. Of course, Melshi is there. They decide they're going to split up, so, which I'm surprised about, because as we know, Melshi and Andor do come back in Rogue One, but I guess they meet back up yet again. But any concluding 20-second thoughts on the ending and what you're excited about for next episode?
gonna be a lot of people in Ferrix.
A lot of people in Ferrix.
Excited
Yeah,
to see what happens.
agreed.
I have. How are there no patrols on Namos
Nope.
after
The
everything?
KXs are gone. KX is gone. Thank you.